Welcome back, everyone, for another deep dive. Today, we are going to be exploring some thought-provoking quotes from Himanshu Sharma, who's this author who has this really interesting way of breaking down really complicated topics into these short, really insightful quotes.
Yeah.
So kind of think of it as like a crash course in simplicity.
Yeah, and I mean, what's so interesting about his quotes is just how much is packed into so few words.
Right.
Like, it's like each one is kind of a key that unlocks this whole new way of thinking.
Totally. I was going through some of these quotes, and it's like you have to stop and think about them for a second before moving on. For example,
Yeah.
obstacles born of avidya are not barriers, but guides.
Mm-hmm.
What is avidya? What does that even mean? And how do we see challenges as guides?
Okay, so avidya is often translated as like ignorance or delusion. So think of it like this kind of cloud of misunderstanding that keeps us from seeing things as they really are.
Okay.
So, you know, those times when maybe you made a decision based on like incomplete information or let your emotions like totally get the best of you.
Yeah.
Like that's avidya in action. And that often leads to, you running into unnecessary obstacles.
Right. So avidya creates obstacles.
Yeah,
But Sharma says that self-knowledge is the key to actually simplifying things.
totally.
One of his quotes says, "To simplify the complexities of life, one must first unlock the mysteries within oneself."
Yeah.
So how does understanding ourselves help us make better choices? Like cut through all that noise and find clarity in the chaos.
It's like if you're trying to navigate a new city, but you don't have a map.
Right.
Self-awareness is kind of like that map. It helps us understand like our values, our motivations, even our fears. And that allows us to make choices that are like truly in alignment with like who we are at our core.
Okay.
So instead of just like reacting blindly, we're acting from this place of like deeper understanding.
Yeah, that makes total sense. It's like understanding why you make certain choices instead of feeling like you're just on autopilot reacting to everything.
Exactly.
So how do we actually cultivate this self-awareness?
Yeah. Oh man, there's so many different paths you can explore. Journaling that can help uncover patterns in your thoughts and behaviors.
Right.
Meditation and mindfulness practices, those can help quiet all the mental chatter and create space for, deeper self-reflection.
Yeah.
And honestly, even just spending time in nature can offer this sense of like clarity and connection.
Mhm.
So what resonates most with you?
I think for me, it's a mix of things. Like I do really like to journal, but there is something about being in nature that helps me clear my head, reconnect with myself.
Yeah.
And speaking of choices, Sharma also talks about how the choices we make really shape our destiny. He says, in the symphony of life, our choices compose the melody of our destiny.
Oh, I love that analogy.
Right.
So beautiful.
But he also goes on to point out that, true freedom goes beyond simply making choices.
Totally.
It's about making choices that are truly our own.
Yes.
So he says, authentic freedom emerges when we transcend influences, navigate illusions, and choose with unwavering clarity. So that's where it gets really interesting. What are some of these influences and illusions that can cloud our judgment and keep us from making choices that are truly authentic to ourselves?
Oh, I mean, think about all the messages that we are bombarded with constantly, from society, the media, our families, even our own internal biases.
Yeah.
All of these things shape our perceptions and can lead us down paths that really aren't in alignment with what we truly value.
Right.
Like, have you ever felt pressured to make a certain career choice, even though, like, deep down it didn't feel right for you?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, that's a perfect example of, like, those external influences at play.
Yeah, totally. I think we've all experienced that feeling of being pulled in a million directions.
Exactly.
So how do we develop this unwavering clarity that he talks about?
It's an ongoing process.
Right.
It requires us to really examine our beliefs, challenge our assumptions, and just be radically honest with ourselves about what truly matters.
Okay.
And it involves learning to distinguish between our authentic desires and the ones that are like imposed on us.
Right.
So it's like this ongoing process of like peeling back the layers of an onion to get to the core of like who we are.
And once we have that clarity, Sharma emphasizes the power of planning to actually bring our vision to life.
Totally.
He has a quote that says, "Effective planning transforms dreams into achievable goals." So what's the difference between just having goals and having a clear plan?
Okay, so imagine you want to climb a mountain.
Okay.
The goal is reaching the summit.
Okay.
A plan is what gets you there.
Okay.
So a plan is going to map out the route, identify potential challenges, outline the steps that you need to take.
Right.
So having a plan breaks down a seemingly overwhelming goal into these smaller, more manageable steps, and that makes it less daunting and way more achievable.
So planning helps us move from dreaming to doing.
Yeah,
But as we all know, life rarely goes exactly according to plan.
totally.
And Sharma actually addresses that by saying adaptability is the compass that recalibrates our journey amidst changing winds.
Yes, exactly. A good plan anticipates change
Sure.
and builds in flexibility. Yeah,
So it's not about like rigidly sticking to a predetermined course,
right.
but being able to adapt and adjust as needed.
Makes sense.
That's why Sharma calls it a compass, because it helps us to reorient ourselves and like find our way even when things get unpredictable.
And that brings us back to these obstacles born of avidya that we talked about earlier. Sharma seems to suggest that challenges, these potential detours, can actually be beneficial.
They can be.
So how can we shift our perspective to see them as guides rather than these like insurmountable roadblocks?
Think of it this way. Obstacles force us to grow.
Okay.
They challenge us to step outside of our comfort zones, to learn new skills, and to develop resilience. So if we approach them with like curiosity instead of fear,
Okay.
they can actually reveal hidden strengths and offer us these really valuable lessons.
Right.
And in a way, they act as signposts, redirecting us towards a path of greater understanding.
Sharma even mentions divine figures overcoming obstacles as examples. He says we worship the incarnations of God because they faced the toughest battles and emerged victorious, showing us the way to true greatness. Their stories remind us that even like the most enlightened beings face challenges. And it was through overcoming them that they achieved true mastery.
Right.
What's important is not the absence of obstacles, but how we choose to face them.
So it's all about reframing our perspective, seeing these challenges as opportunities for growth rather than setbacks.
Totally.
Have you ever experienced a time when reframing an obstacle led to a positive outcome?
Oh, for sure. I can think of a time when I had this major project fall apart at work. And initially I just felt defeated, like, oh my gosh, this is terrible.
Yeah.
But by like reframing the situation as a chance to learn and improve, I was able to salvage some valuable insights from the experience and ultimately came up with an even better solution.
Wow, that's a great example of how just a shift in perspective can completely change the outcome.
Yeah.
Finally, Sharma talks about the importance of holistic practices for true transformation.
Yep.
He says true transformation begins within. By embracing holistic practices, we align our mind, body, and spirit, paving the way for a simplified and fulfilling life.
Holistic practices like meditation, yoga, or even spending time in nature are really powerful tools for cultivating that inner peace and alignment.
Yeah?
They help us connect with ourselves on a deeper level, and that fosters this sense of clarity and purpose that can guide us through, all of life's complexities.
It's about creating that inner harmony that allows us to navigate the outer world with more ease and grace.
Totally.
And Sharma actually defines simplicity as the art of finding peace in the present, clarity in the chaos, and joy in the journey. So it's not about eliminating complexity. It's about finding a way to move through it with a sense of peace and purpose.
Exactly. And by integrating these insights from self-awareness to planning to reframing obstacles, we can start to create that sense of simplicity and fulfillment in our own lives.
Also, so we've covered a lot of ground today, from unlocking the mysteries within to navigating those inevitable challenges that life throws our way.
Yeah.
I think the key takeaway here is that simplifying life isn't about escaping complexity, but it's about cultivating those inner resources, the self-knowledge, clarity, and resilience
Yes.
to embrace it with grace and wisdom.
I love that.
As we wrap up our deep dive, I want to leave you with this final thought from Sharma.
Okay.
He says, obstacles are abundant, like waves in the endless sea. Your attitude towards them will determine if you rise as a victor or sink in defeat. So think about the waves you're facing right now.
Yeah.
How can you shift your perspective to ride them towards a place of greater understanding and triumph?
That's a great question to think about.
Thanks for joining us.
Of course, this was fun.
See you next time.
Bye.